what we've seen is that our communities are in shock, really. I mean, it's one thing to be talking ideological, environmental intent, but it's another thing to make sure that communities all across the Murray-Darling Basin will suffer for that ideology. We have $9.2 billion of export food production just in my patch over to the South Australian border. The last couple of weeks, the Coalition Ag Backbench Committee and basin members such as myself met with hundreds of local producers and peak bodies across the river districts to understand what they thought about 450 GL coming out of the river, out of productive use. So I've got to say that they are devastated. I've got 6 councils, the Murray River group of councils, who are now doing a major pushback on buybacks, a campaign, because they don't want to see their communities decimated. And I'll give you an example. The Gunnewarra Shire, which is one of those councils, last time buybacks occurred, they lost half their water productive use, consumptive use, and they also lost 48%, 50% of their dairy farmers. You know, that is the food and the cheese that we all enjoy at the grocers. Our fruit production, our grains, it all matters, and it will be impacted severely by this legislation amendment.
And has government spoken to the people who this affects? Have they gone out and spoken to them in person? No, I don't think that we can. We know certainly nothing about that. The Senate Committee for Environment is doing a brief inquiry, which Tanya Plibersek didn't even wait for to hear the findings of that, but they have decided, in a Labor-controlled Senate, of course, with the crossbench and the Greens, that they will do 2 days of hearings, 2 days in Canberra. That just goes to prove, I think, the disdain that city-centric MPs and senators hold for our regional communities. So give us some more examples, because this is going to potentially affect a lot of people.
It will impact everyone in Australia. Let's make no mistake about that. This will impact grocery prices. It will impact the ability for towns to stay together. Last time we lost up to 70% of school children from the Gunnewarra Shire, for example. Businesses closed. When somebody doesn't have a job anymore, whether it's in horticulture or in dairy farming, and they leave the area, that leaves all the flow-on effect to those communities. I don't think that the Labor government has any eye to the damage that they're doing. Having said that, I do have to say that the Water Minister in Victoria, the Labor Water Minister in Victoria, Harriet Shing, has absolutely stood up for her Victorian regional communities, and I don't say that easily, but it's a fact and credit needs to be given where it's due. She has said these buybacks are damaging. They should not be happening. We have every peak body standing against these buybacks, but the Minister for Water, Tanya Plibersek, is tone deaf.
So it's now to be debated in the Senate. What do you think is going to happen there?
Well, I mean, they hold power in the Senate, of course, and I know that my colleagues in the coalition, and especially the regional coalition senators, will be standing up strong and proud for our regional communities. We need them to. We don't have to ask them to. We just know they will. But all of the urban senators, well, I hold not very much hope that they will be listening. And we are all Australians. 30% of Australians live in our regional communities, keeping our food production thriving. And with these buybacks, that will be significantly diminished. And if you take away the socioeconomic neutrality test, what it's saying, and what Tanya Plibersek and the Labor government is saying, is they don't care if there is suffering, if we lose productivity. So much talk about productivity, not much action on the ground. This will be devastating.
Shadow Assistant Minister for Regional Health and Member for Mallee, Dr. Anne Webster. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Jaynie.